All right, I'm Dave Rubin, and this is one more thing on the Rubin Report. So we talked a lot of topics this week. We did politics, we did porn, pretty much everything in between. But I was thinking, what I like about doing this show is I want to bring people that come from different worlds and bring them together and see if we can come up with something that's cool and get a good vibe going. And I think we did that here. So you guys, I think, actually have something very much in common that someone wouldn't think about. So Lance, you were in NSYNC, huge boy band, and then it went away. Can we say went away? It was gone.
We're still on hiatus.
We're still on long-term.
That's what I thought for a while. Like, oh, okay.
Long-term hiatus, we'll say.
Yes.
And then you made a very personal decision to come out. It has given you a new life and a new career, et cetera, et cetera. And Cenk, for you, you were in mainstream news. And then that also went on a bit of a hiatus, really by your choice, but wrangling with the powers that be, so to speak. And I think this idea is fascinating, that people get to a point in life where they have to do something profoundly personal to fix their lives. And so the question that I'm going to ask both of you guys is, do you remember when that moment happened that you knew you had to do something that I know for myself that saved my life, but that's something that really changed your life? Do you remember that absolute moment?
Well, I mean, it goes back to when I publicly came out. I knew at that moment the reaction that got was where I needed to be in life. I love doing music, I love being an entertainer, but what gave me the reason to keep going was knowing that I could affect people's lives in a positive way. And that I'm so happy that I'm alive in this whole transition of the civil rights, movement right here in America, because I'm proud to be a part of that, and I'm glad that I'm put in that position to help out as much as I can.
And Cenk, what about for you? What was the moment that you said, all right, the corporate route of this doesn't fulfill what I need to do. I'm going to go build my own freaking network, which I'm imagining some people around you said, you're nuts.
Yeah, well, I got that plenty of times. So, we'd been building the network for a while, and we were still building it while I was at MSNBC, et cetera. But there was that moment when I had to make a decision on whether to stay at MSNBC and keep things quiet or come out, I guess, in a sense, I wish I hadn't thought of that way, and say, look, this is what happens in reality behind the curtain, right? And I remember being in my living room, and pacing up and down, trying to decide. There were so many different factors, and I was been honest about this. One of them, of course, was money. I'd never made that much money before. When you go on TV, you get a much bigger salary, and they had offered me a huge deal in order to go to the weekends and stay quiet about how things work. On the other hand, I knew something that I thought, my God, if I could share that with the audience, if it was somebody else's story, I would do it in a second. But it's my story, and I have it, where the head of MSNBC has told me, the establishment doesn't like your tone, and you need to bring it down, and you need to play ball, and you need, and so I was torn about it. There was, there's New York, there's LA, there's my family, and I thought, well, why did I get into this in the first place? And the whole point of doing this was to be honest with the audience. And if you lose that point, no matter how much the money or anything else, you can never get it back, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be true to what we were doing, so I decided to turn the money down and come out and publicly tell the story about how in corporate media you have to toe the line, and you have to play Democrat and Republican games and not challenge the government too much. And I think I owed it to the audience to tell them that.
Yeah, well, and that's why I wanted to bring you guys together, because I think it's fascinating that people have a very personal thing that actually in almost every case transcends their personal lives and then goes out and helps other people. So my last question for tonight is, where do you think you would be if you had not made that choice?
I'd probably be singing with NSYNC right now still. Who knows? I love what I do. But I mean, it was such a weird time, 10 years ago was such an odd time in history as far as the gay, rights went. And who knows what would have happened if I would have came out 10 years ago in the band. Maybe it would have made things go a little faster, I don't know. Or it could have gone the other way and just really tanked and ruined my whole life, and I'd be 500 pounds at home, eating my Cheetos and just depressed.
But I sense no regrets about the choice.
Zero regrets.
Cenk, where would you be?
You know, sometimes I look at the commercials that MSNBC does, and I think, well, they would have done one for me. Right. You know, I was going to have a weekend show and with like Chris Hayes did, Melissa Harris Perry, and God, they look so nice.
You could have been standing at the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I hear about who's dating who there, and I think like, oh my God, like they got the money, they got the girls, they got the commercials, etc. So there's a little part of me that of course feels like, that would have been nice, right? And that's how they seduce you, right? But of course, overall, I think the whole point of building this entire career over 17, 18 years was to be true to yourself. So, you know, I couldn't have, all that pacing was for nothing, because in the end, you have to be who you are. And it was just a process to get to find out who I really am.
It's easy to take the easy way out, right? I mean, with me, like, what if I just decided to play the straight card the rest of my life, marry a famous actress, and be this it couple in Hollywood, but living a lie? I mean, that would have been an easy route, and that's a route many people are doing today.
Yeah, right. This.
But that would be selling out, and that would not be, being true to myself.
Be true to yourself. That's it. Thanks, guys. I want to remind you guys that the official outfitter of the Rubin Report is Bonobos. Go to bonobos.com, use code TRR20, and get yourself this fancy shirt.